And we're up.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here, wherever you are. Thank you for being in our little corner of the internet for a couple of hours this evening. My name is Kate Khatib. I am a worker owner at Red Emma's. And Red Emma's, as I'm sure many of you know, is a bookstore and restaurant and social center that is in Baltimore, Maryland. We've been around for 15 years. We're completely worker owned and operated. We're a cooperative. And one of our great pleasures every summer is getting to host the Writers in Baltimore School Young Writers Studio at the end of their summer writing intensive. We've been hosting this event for a while now, like 4 or 5 years. We love it. It's awesome. We're always thrilled to have all of these amazing young people in the space, making use of our bookstore and event space to share the work that they have been creating. And this year, we're shut down. The bookstore is not open to the public right now. The event space is obviously not operating because it's not safe to bring people together in person. So we were really excited that we were able to work together with Writers in Baltimore School to pull this into a virtual event and to still be able to bring the work of all of these amazing young writers to everyone who is who's watching at home and who is here to listen and learn and to support them. So thank you all so much for being here. We're really excited to have you. I hope that you will, I hope that you'll keep coming out for Red Emma's events. We're trying to put together a program of online events during the time that we're not able to bring you together in person in our space. And all of these events are recorded. So if you want to go back and listen or share this with people afterwards, you can just come back to this same link that you're watching on right now. You can copy it, you can send it to other people. That way everybody can share in, even if they can't be here today. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Patrice Hutton from Writers in Baltimore Schools. And thanks again, everybody, for being here.
Thank you so much, Kate and Eno and Red Emma's. We are really, really excited to have Red Emma's hosting us again. Every year after we've had our week in Western Maryland doing our camp together, the bus pulls up at Red Emma's, students unload their suitcases, Red Emma's graciously feeds us a meal, and the students sort of are behind the scenes rehearsing their stories. This year, we've still had a little behind the scene time with Red Emma's as we log into the Zoom and figure out the reading order. So we're really happy we can keep the Red Emma's portion of this alive. For the past 6 days, we've had about 40 young writers, middle, high school, and college students from across Baltimore, representing about 15 schools, come together for an intensive week of workshops. And they produced a lot of really awesome writing. And they're going to be presenting some of it tonight, and more of it will be produced in an anthology that's available in a month or so. And I'm going to turn it over to Afia Irvin, who's going to be guiding us through the evening. She's one of our counselors. Afia?
Hi, everyone. So this is actually, sadly, it's my first time being at camp. Throughout high school, I had other obligations through the summer. And thank God I've been able to slow my life down enough to actually come to camp. And being a counselor, I also still felt like just one of the students because I was experiencing everything for the first time. We had so many different writing workshops. We had great conversation. We had great community. It was all around just a great experience. Definitely hoping we can do this again next year, hopefully in person. And This is our, writing showcase. The first writer that we have that's going to be sharing their work is Mackenzie. Mackenzie is one of the most outgoing people I have met in this week, and she's just great. So everyone, please help me welcome Mackenzie.
Oh, do I go? Okay, sorry. Mugs. I remember porcelain stacked cabinets. I remember huge windows that made my dining room table look like the sun or the horizon. I remember my favorite chair right next to the window. I remember my mug cabinet. I remember slammed cabinets. I remember loud microwaves. I remember being told to walk quieter. I remember the shaking hands. I remember not holding cameras. I remember desperately needing a new phone case. I remember my mugs, an invisible barrier separating my mom's from mine, transparent but all the more real because of it. I remember when I dropped a mug and it didn't break. It didn't break. Opaque acceptance, its hand cradling my palm, slammed cabinets, hot tea kissing my lips during thunderstorms, shaking hands, warm tea spilling down my shirt, bandaged, band, hands. I remember sugar on the counter, raking and sifting through the paper bag, honey clinging to my spoons, were two hot knuckles from where the mug and the handle met, sipped, simmered, shook. I remember dipping my fingers into scalding hot water. I remember my love mug with love written 3 times. I remember wishing that I was the tea bag. I remember warmth and I remember that I've never broken a mug.
Can we get some snaps from Mackenzie? That was great. That was beautiful. Mackenzie is such a strong writer, much like our next writer, whose name is Phoenix, and their writing is beautiful. And I'd just like to welcome Phoenix to the stage.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. That while writing, I have expressed some certain feelings right now. I feel I am not the only one who has been crying and wondering why life is this way. So I wanted to help everyone realize that they are not alone. So I have written a poem entitled Sweetest Corner of Your Domain. Unable to see, yet there is light. Not a single sound, yet silence is the sweetest noise. Not one being beside you, no one to laugh with nor defend. Millions of thoughts loping through your head without end. On your own, yet surrounded by friends. Cherish the time, savor the moment. This is specifically for your enjoyment. Relish each marvelous minute. This isolation is meant to lift your spirit. This is the time to reflect on your life, to forget all of the pain and strife. This time helps you feel comfort in your skin, makes you feel glorious outside and within. It teaches you how to be strong on your own because you are never lonely when alone.
Words of encouragement, words giving strength. I love it. Thank you so much. And keep writing. And our next poet is Kamar. If I can welcome you to the stage. Kamar.
I'm here. I can go now?
Yep, you're next.
Right. Champion's regret. You see the sparks fly from your rapier as you get pushed back by your opponent's attack. Sweat falls into your right eye and you squint, keeping the other open for your fight. Your opponent pauses her attack to gloat. Is this all you got, Perry? I thought you were the top fighter of this sector. The crowd is cheering, screaming at the top of their lungs. They want to see your inside splattered on the cobblestone battlefield. Your opponent's banter has hyped them up even more. She rushes towards you, her sword glistening in the air as it rises up. You see a tear fall down her face. Your rapier glows purple. You've activated your sword skill. What now? You won't make it in time. You aim for your opponent's abdomen. Maybe they'll bleed out before you get hit. You're hopeful. Her sword comes crashing down into your collarbone. Pain shoots throughout your entire body. Darkness clouds your vision and you get cold. You feel nothing but pain as your body falls. She catches you, holding you close and whispered, "I'm sorry, I love you."
That was moving. That was moving. So next we have Kyra coming to the stage. Snap it up for her.
Dear future soulmate, how can I miss what I've never had? I'll try to be brief and let these 3 simple words caress your cheeks as you think about what might be. I miss you. Your sweet kisses in the cold as the snow falls from the sky. Your goodnight cookies that you bring me in bed. The warm hugs from your strong arms shielding me from the hate in this world. But I don't know you. Now your gorgeous eyes or silky skin. I don't care if you love dogs or hate books because you love me. You love me. Right now, you may have a girlfriend who you swear is your forever, but she's not. And I'm sorry if it hurts you when you discover that she's not your meant to be. I wish I could touch you and show you who I am, but I can't because I haven't met you yet. Or maybe I have. Are you the boy who shoots paper balls at me in algebra? Do you pass by me in the hall? Have you been a witness to my clumsiness and saw in your head, she's not my type? Well, I am, because you're my forever. Maybe we'll come back to each other as different people living different lives, and I'll finally stop holding my breath and the weight will be lifted off my chest. But please, please, when our paths finally cross and our time has synced, don't be disappointed. I may not have much, but what I do have too much of is love. And one day, far or near, I'll show you, share, and give you some of my love to you. One day, our day, will be the best day of my life. I hope when the day comes, you'll be ready because I've been ready every day of my life. But I have to ask myself, what if you never come and I'm waiting forever? I don't know what the future holds for us, but I know we will be beautiful because in a world overrun by hate and regret, we are together. I have met you, loved you, fought you, but I will never, never regret you. I promise. One day we'll be watching TV or kissing our children goodnight, and I'll remember this letter. That day I will have known that I found you, and maybe I'll dig it up from a hidden box in the attic and read it to you. Then you'll laugh, but I'll smile because you're right here. I'm done waiting. I hope you're having a good day and you're smiling with all the joy in the world. Just know that I will love you forever. And when our eyes finally meet and our paths cross, I'll be thinking of you, no matter what. Best wishes with all the love in my heart, your soulmate.
That poem was so tender and so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Next, we have Kaya, who is so talented, and I'd like to welcome her to the stage now.
Wall of glass. My mother once told me that it is better to be distant from someone and hurt them than to be close to them and hurt them. I've always disagreed with that. Separation and complete absence are both 1,000 times worse than closeness. If you're close to someone, then there's a chance of repairing the damage. If you're distant, then how will you ever help that person heal? She'd disagree with me if I told her this, so I never have. I've only ever told Valentine, and he agrees with me. We both know better than she ever would. The only thing my mother and I agree on is the source of my name. I was named after a witch. Witches aren't real, of course, but are simply the name mortals created for mages, never knowing that those they accuse innocent women of being were creatures of their own creation. My namesake is fictional, the great Serafina Pekkala of the His Dark Material series. She was wise and regal, two things I wish I was, and brave and honest, two things I know I am. Serafina Pekkala didn't hide or shy away from her concerns and fears, and neither do I. Which is why, in this moment, I am thinking of what my mother said, experiencing the precise reason why she was wrong. I sit on the stairs of my high school, a place that 10 years ago I thought I'd never see again. Waiting for Valentine, I watch as on the other side of the walkway, Luke stands, much taller and 10 years older than I remember him. He's talking to a girl and a boy who share a class with us, smiling and shaking his head, the movement sending his locks across his cheek. His smile is still the same, bright and unyielding. His eyes are still the same oak brown, his skin still the same amber, his cheekbones still marked with a faint scar from when he fell and cut his cheek. But so many things are different. His voice, his laugh, even how he stands. And something else. I want to speak to him, to catch up with him, but he won't remember me. He isn't supposed to. 10 years ago, before we left, my mother put a block on his memories of me, of my family. He was getting too close, my mother had reasoned, and we can't trust mortals, or be sure that they can survive the other world if they somehow become a part of it. I was 8 then, so I couldn't argue, no matter how much I wished I could. And I never knew why Valentine's family left with us, not that it mattered. I was just glad not to be alone. As we drove out of town, I'd spotted Luke sitting on his front porch, wanting to wave, but knowing there was no point. That was when I realized that distance was not better than closeness. And now I'm realizing it again. A heavy ache, like a set of needles, plunged into me in my chest. Luke doesn't remember me. He isn't supposed to. And maybe he is safer that way. Maybe he isn't. It doesn't change the fact that the damage done is irreparable. That he'll never ask me what my parents are saying when they're speaking Spanish. That Valentine and I will never get to share stories with him. The distance has been made, and it has to be kept. I know that. And I know that I'm afraid he'll recognize me or Valentine and remember everything. Like my namesake, I can admit that fear. And that fear keeps me from talking to him like I wish I could. All I can do is wish and pray to the elders that Luke doesn't recognize me, silently wishing we hadn't moved back. Why had we moved back, I wonder, not for the first time? My mother has always wanted us to steer clear of mortals. She thinks that it's as likely for us to be a danger to them as it was for them to learn of us and be a danger to us. So why? I don't get the chance to think about it. Serafina, comes a familiar voice from behind me. I turn to see Valentine coming down the stairs, dark hair tousled and chocolate eyes framed by gold eyeshadow that shimmers under the sunlight. I smile when I see him, relieved and comforted all at once, a rush of heat crossing my skin. Hey, are you ready to go? I ask when he reaches me, standing. Valentine nods. He replies, already halfway down the steps. Responses like this from him are common, even with his family. My mother always says that he'll only ever speak when he needs to, but somehow I feel like he saves his voice for me. I follow him, our shoulders brushing as we walk. I've almost forgotten Luke and my wish to speak to him, but as Valentine and I walk away from the school, I glance up just as we pass him. In the strangest of moments, my gaze lands on him, finding that his had been on me first. Our eyes meet, and in the brief second it takes for me to pass him, I see it, the recognition in his eyes. So much for him not remembering.
So Kaya definitely is wise and regal, just like Elizabeth, who is up next. And she is shy at first, but her words speak for herself. So snaps and applaud to Elizabeth.
Monsters come through the floor and grab me with their cold limbs, dragging me to a hell of blizzards and hailstorms, and I stay there. It feels destined until the monsters release me and I come back. No one misses me, and my days are spent barefoot and naked, longing for winter's return and to feel numb again, needing someone who cares enough to stay. I lay there waiting for the monsters. And when the monsters return and embrace me with dead arms, they hold me close so I can feel their frigid breath on my lips. They pull me back there, back to my frozen paradise with mesmerizing hills of death. This time I stay.
Short and sweet, just like Elizabeth. Love it. So next we have beautiful, confident Monet, and she is here to share her art with us. So please help me welcome her.
My fault, because I'm so awkward. I left myself on mute. Hey, so I'll be reading from something called A Masochist in Love. So I bent over backwards for you countlessly, and you didn't care. Your heart was never contrite, and yet I stayed. You laid lustfully, lacking any love for me. I knew I meant nothing to you. I was your burden, and like a bitter aftertaste, I stayed. We fought over nothing. You broke my heart time and time again, and yet I stayed. I did all you asked of me to do, and you couldn't even look me in the eyes when you told me you loved me. Your love, your I love yous was as empty as your heart. I knew you wanted another, and yet I stayed. I love you and gave you all that I had, even if I had nothing. But I always fought fearlessly, knowing nothing I did would ever matter to you. You left me for another, and aimlessly I stayed. Even when we weren't together, I made sure I was always available to you for your disposal. I hurt myself every day trying to be your friend. These futile feelings keep coming back. While you laid lovingly with another, I am riddled with hate, not because I hate you, but because I love you. I now hate you because of how much I did love you. My heart is now covered in sulfur. My heart is now called brimstone. Yet I now hate you because I can't love anyone the way I loved you. Curse you. Curse you for making me feel like I wasn't worthy of love. When I now know I am worthy of so much more than that, I hate you so much. I suppose I was just a masochist in love. Okay, that's it.
That was so beautiful. Your word choice is so strong. And the next person that we have is Lukaya, and their word choice is strong too. Their diction is on point too. So I just like to welcome Lukaya to the stage.
Okay. My poem is called Life. All good things must come to an end. I know. Like a favorite movie or a book. It's not fair. I know. I know that life can and will take something you love and care for and then just steal it away. Just like that. Gone in an instant. Like a snowflake disappearing in the palm of a hand. But still, it's not fair. It's not fair that people think that they have something that they believe will last forever, and then it's gone. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. Nothing is ever really fair, even when it seems like it's fair.
That was so beautiful. Next, we have Amanda coming up, and she has been a young writer at the Iowa Young Writers Studio. So you know that she is talented. So everyone, please welcome Amanda to the stage.
Hello, everybody. Well, here we are. Wait, am I showing up? Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure because I'm not seeing that on my screen. So I have two poems. They're both pretty short. And I write entirely too much. Who am I kidding? There's no such thing as that. Anyway. So, first poem. This is called Heretical Sonnet. Perhaps I've been uprooted, spilling dirt onto your bed, the sort of thing that reminds my father that I wasn't meant to be purple. Hyacinths were only beautiful in my mother's eyes, and I've seen the shears so many times now that all I can do is stumble from the altar top with the lavender trail behind me. Too different, too dark, not dark enough. Soft enough to dig your fingers into and pull apart like decaying bark, shriveling into compost behind the church with our sacrificial royal-colored handprints on the door, ignored. But if I ran away to distant rooms, would my return kill the other violets in bloom? So that's that poem. and the second poem I've written is called My Poetry Sings. My poetry sings like a moth caught beating its brown wings. 4 a.m., third floor, stopping for nothing and no one, never coming close to the ground, hovering in those magical liminal spaces along the ceiling, near the light bulbs and the broken fan with its blades hanging limp and unused, like a left hand training itself to not be silent. You start asking, hey, what are you doing here? And you wonder if the moth is trying to tell you something. That's me.
Talented writer. We've just been blessed, okay? We've just been blessed with writing talent, writing prodigy. And just like our next writer, Miss Brandy, you can come to the stage because all eyes are on you next.
Hello. I rather like it how everyone's after than everyone else, but I guess it's a turn. My poem is called Hunger. Dear you, you weird creation inside me, neither small and large intestines. I want to apologize to you for all the pain you had to endure. It all started when someone you cared about called you fat and then it spiraled from there. You were skinny then. Now you have expanded and gotten healthier. I'm proud of you for that. Once you're consciously starved, form of tissue and acid to feelings of joy when full. I'm sorry that guilt creeps into the host's head after a couple days. You're full of the comings and go-outs of the sustenance that resides in you. You have seen tore apart and spit out days. You have known you are okay days. Once a punch bag for anxiety nights, in a lonely, desolate vessel, I forgot how to love. I'm proud you're not now. One day you will swell and become a home for another in their father's kisses. I promise to continue to try to keep you healthy and love you the way you deserve to. Sincerely, me.
That was beautiful. Brandy was able to paint a picture with her words, and so is Janayah, who is our next artist, our next writer. So if we can welcome her to the stage.
All right. So this is a short story. It's called Lost at Sea. Okay. Mom, get up. We can't miss our flight, Alice shouted as she burst into her mom's room at 3 o'clock in the morning. Squinting her eyes as she rose from her pillow, Alice's mom said softly, honey, relax. Our flight is not until 8 o'clock in the morning. And the airport is a 12-minute drive from here. We have plenty of time. She proceeded to lay back down. Alice returned to her room, but still was not able to lay back down. She was so excited about this particular flight. This flight was the flight that her and her mom and her younger sister will be taking in order to move to a new country. They were currently living in Thai, but were moving to Paris apparently because Mom was starting a new fashion career. Alice was so excited about a new journey in her life, in her family's life. Hey, Papa, I know you're smiling down on us. I love you. Alice prayed quietly as she held a picture of her and Papa in her arms while she was packing it up. Alice's dad had passed away 3 years ago when Alice was only 12 and her younger sister was just 3. Her mom was having trouble trying to support her family on her own until she was discovered by a big-time fashion producer that came to visit Thai a couple months back. The fashion producer had seen one of Alice's mom's designs and fell in love instantly. Her mom received weekly pays for her creations, which has been supporting the family. This big-time fashion producer thought that it would be more convenient if she moved permanently to Paris to sell her designs. Alice's mom agreed, knowing it would create a better life for her girls. Mom, I'm hungry, whined Marie, Alice's 6 years old sister. All right, baby, we're almost at the airport. We'll grab some food there. They arrived at the airport 30 minutes early. What do you think of this dress, Mom? Alice asked as she twirled the dress in front of her. It's gorgeous, hon, said Mom. 30 minutes went by and the plane finally arrived. Passengers quickly aborted the plane as the rain came down heavy outside. This would be a 12-hour ride, so they had books to keep them company. I love you guys, and I'm so happy to be bringing my girls with me to live my dreams, said Mom, as she wrapped her arms around the girls. We love you too, Mom, said the girls. They snuggled together for 20 minutes straight. Mom and Marie fell asleep. Alice returned to reading her favorite Harry Potter novel. The flight was now 4 hours in, but still 8 hours to go. You girls hungry? Said Mom. No, said Alice. Marie nodded yes and reached to grab the sandwich her mom was giving to her. What's the first thing you girls want to do when we arrive? Shop and explore the town, of course, Alice eagerly stated. Play, shouted Marie as she threw up both hands. Halfway there, said the pilot. Mom, why do people die? Asked 6-year-old Marie. What would make you ask such a question out of the blue like that, sweetie? Mom carelessly asked. Marie stares out the window, a seat across from her, for a minute. I don't know, just wondering. Well, baby, as long as you're here with me in my arms, you don't have to worry about a thing. I'm always with you, okay? Says Mom. Don't you forget that. She pulls Marie tighter. Alice grins and playfully pinches Marie's cheek. Love you, little one. I love you too, big sis, says Marie, as her big wondering eyes looks up at Alice. Just 4 hours left to go on the plane. Hey, Mom, remember that song you used to always sing? Alice says. Oh, you mean? Mom pauses and they all three look at each other and begin. My little baby don't ever grow up. You guys are so crazy, says Moms. They all take a small nap. Last 3 hours on the plane. Alice wakes and continues to read her Harry Potter book while Mom and Marie sleep. 1 hour later, Mom wakes up and Marie is still asleep. Still reading that book, honey? Asks Mom. Yup, replies Alice. Click, click. Alice hears clicking sounds that worries her. She taps Mom. Mom, do you hear that? Mom leans over and replies, oh, sweetie, I'm pretty sure it's nothing to worry about. All right, Alice says as she returned to reading her book. 5 minutes later. Pow! A loud sound erupts from the side of the plane as if it was struck by something huge. Mom, yells Alice. Marie wakes up confused. What's going on? She says. It's all right, baby, says Mom, as she wraps her arm around her babies and holds them tightly. The plane rumbles and shakes aggressively. Attention passengers, there has been a sudden failure with this plane's engine, says the flight attendant. We ask that you stay calm and follow the emergency safety procedures. Mom, what's going on? Asks Marie. Sweetie, just follow the safety procedures, Mom says, as she frantically tries to make sure Alice and Marie are in the correct safe position. Mom, we're going to die, whimpers Alice as she tucks below. No, sweetie. No, says Mom loudly. The plane continues to plummet. Mom says a prayer quietly. Dear God, let me and my babies make it out safely. The plane, falling at a fast rate, finally hits its landing. Splash. Loud quakes of water all around. The plane crashed into an open ocean of water. Many passengers with their life jackets on follow safety procedures to exit the plane safely and alive, though not every passenger made it. Alice rises from the plane safely. She gasps for breath while looking around. No sign of Mom or Marie. Mom, Marie, where are you? Still no sign. She swims back under to see that Mom is still moving, but Marie's life suit is attached to the seat of the plane. She tries to go back under to help, but Mom waits for her to keep going. Mom tries to pull 6-year-old Marie up. Come on, baby, come on, she says. She was not going up until she has her daughter. Mom has took many breathing classes and has incredibly strong lungs, so she is able to maintain her breath for quite some time. Baby, please, she says. Meanwhile, Alice is still at the top, panicking. Thoughts racing through her mind, and she decides to swim back down. She approaches the plane to see that Mom swim back up, dragging Marie's body with her. They reach the top, and Mom takes a huge breath. Marie, Marie, they scream, while holding her body and tapping her face. Come on, baby, Mama's got you, says Mom, and she holds her arm. Please, God, don't take my baby sister. Alice prays quietly to herself. Come on, she says. Marie is completely unconscious. They hold her tightly as they wait for rescue. The emergency rescue people finally arrive and gather everyone. They are all people all around working to help everyone. Pump, pump, pump. The workers working on Marie's body try to scare all the water out. They perform CPR and there's still no sign of breathing from her. I'm sorry, ma'am, but, says the worker. No, that's my baby, says Mom, and she cuts them off before they could finish their sentence. Alex walks over, kisses Marie's forehead. I love you. A tear sheds from Alice's eyes. No, screams Mom, that's my baby. She's holding on to Marie's body and panting. Please, no, she shouts. Alice walks over and puts her arm around her mom for comfort. The workers give them their time before taking the body. So, I'm sorry.
Why you doing like that?
I'm so sorry.
Janayah!
I'm sorry.
I knew they were gonna die.
I did not mean to do it like that. It just happened. I'm so sorry, guys.
Not the baby.
I am devastated.
Tragic.
I don't know how I'm gonna get through the rest of the night. Hopefully, Amaris can help us with that, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna be sad for a while. So let's welcome Amaris to the stage.
I'm going to be reading a short story. Well, a short story that I wrote this week. Hi, I'm Aloya, and I'm Colombian. Well, the rest of my family is at least. I was the only one to be born in the US. Yep, I'm one of those Latinas. It's like I'm that one weird misshapen fruit that nobody wants to eat, even though it's fine to eat. I have 3 older siblings, making me the spoiled baby of the family. The oldest is my brother Mateo. He's very protective of everyone. He's like the second dad of the house. Always makes us his top priority in any situation. I wish he smiled more often, though. He's like a military soldier, always having his defense, who never fails to drop it. My second brother is named Joaquin. Joaquin the gamer. He says he's famous and popular all over the world for his gaming videos. I swear, this dude is delusional or something, talking about his anime waifus, whatever the higgies that means. I'm not allowed to say heck or hell, so I say higgies instead. My mom and I just don't question him out of fear of what his answers will be. We just let Joaquin live his fantasy life. He's a weird one. Just one sniff from him or his room will literally send you into a coma. He smells like one of those garbage yards that your trash goes to that's been abandoned for years. Like I said, here's a weird one. And the last angel of the family is my sister Liliana. Well, more like a ghost sister. I don't know her that well, though. I've lived my whole life with her. It's like we're strangers. Just imagine one of your stereotypical e-girls, but Hispanic. Half of her hair is bleached and dyed. It's always a new color every week. She wears the whole rainbow on her head. Sometimes I think and laugh to myself why I need to see a real rainbow when I'm actually related to one. All I hear from her room is what my tia calls música del diablo. My tia always has something to say to Liliana. She always says things like, mijita, ¿por qué escuchas esa música? Es el diablo. Or like, Liliana, ¿por qué te vistes así? Te ves como esos niños deprimidos. Yep, that's my tia. Luckily, she doesn't visit as much because she's too busy, even though we all know that our mama and her just don't get along. My abuelita always told us stories of them from when they were little. I remember this one story when mama was 3 and my tia was 5. Abuelita would always say that tia would push mama out of her tricycle and take it. Mama would always cry when this happened. Because she was crying, my abuela would come pick mama up while abuela would spank tia with a wooden spoon or her bare hand. Abuela called it discipline, but abuelo saw it as abuse. Abuelita never listens to him. It drives abuelo crazy, but thankfully she marries someone patient, or else she'd probably be soltera. At least that's what my mama would always tell us when we bring up abuelita in a conversation. My papa's side of the family is more rebellious. Papa grew up around guys mostly. He only has one younger sister. The rest of his siblings are boys. Besides Maria, his sister, who is such a buzzkill, Papa and his brothers would always go out and do a lot of daring stuff. Papa would always tell me to go and live my life because life is short. I guess I spent more time worrying about my life than actually living it. I once saw a quote that said, "Don't exist, live, go out, explore, and thrive." Yeah, I didn't exactly follow by that quote for a while. I live in a little city that is infamous for being one of the most dangerous cities in the US. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You poor child, what a dangerous city to live in. What a facepalm. Don't waste your breath and save your pity. I'd rather live here where I learn how to defend and do stuff instead of being some helpless rich kid in Los Angeles who will most likely end up on Dr. Phil. But me and my family didn't always live there. Mama and Papa lived back in Colombia where my other siblings were born. They were forced to leave their home and their life behind. Bogota wasn't a pretty place during those times. Papa would describe it as an early apocalypse since it was before the 2000s. He would describe what it was like in Bogota back then. He said there was violence in every corner and nobody could be trusted, not even your closest friend. When you walk out of your house, there you walk out of the warmth and into the cold winds of the Arctic. Always prepare for the worst, he would always say at the end of all his stories. Relatives who I didn't even know about have died. Literally every crime you could think of was happening, but even worse in Bogota. Blackmail put my family in danger and forced them to leave their life and family behind. Luckily, my papa had a work visa, and my brothers, sister, and mama could go to the US legally. I know you were questioning whether we were legal or not. Surprise, not all Hispanics are illegal. Congratulations, you learned something new today. My family moved into the suburban area. It was different being the only Hispanic family in a white community. One family was definitely not like the others. We all stood out. Liliana never liked the change of environment. Maybe that's why she became rebellious. Or maybe it was just my papa's genes. Liliana hated the US, but I never understood why, until I heard the story. About 5 years later, I appeared, born in a safe place just like my parents wanted. I learned English faster than Spanish. I made a lot of friends growing up. Our neighbors were so nice and kind to us. I was surrounded by white folks. The Hispanics in my life at that time were my family, and that's all I needed in my perfect life. 16 years had passed by, and we moved. Again, it was a bittersweet, 16 years had passed by and we moved. Again. It was a bittersweet feeling, I will admit, but all I had in my mind was, ooh, new friends, can't wait. I got in the car with my pink suitcase and a soft gray koala Mama gave me when I turned 5. I'll always remember what she told me when she gave it to me. Just like a koala cares for her kids, I will keep you close to my heart always. Cheesy, I know, but sometimes the cheesy stuff shows how much someone cares. Joaquin and Mateo sat in the back seat while I sat with Liliana in the middle. Bob was in the driver's seat and Mama was seated next to him. You excited to go to our new home? I asked Liliana. She was wearing a black beanie that read Bad Hair Day, with some of her black hair covering her face while having earbuds in. Liliana faced in my direction and gave me a disgusted look, then turned away to look out the car window. Was it something I said? It was only an hour away from my original home. As we drove to a place that I would later call my new home, I saw the trees in the suburbs turn into buildings in the city. Wait, a city? Row houses were everywhere, so close together, nothing like the houses back where I came from. There were no big front yards. The people here looked so depressed. In the suburbs, it was so happy with blue skies and green grass, and the sun smiling down at all times. Instead of that lovely paradise, the clouds covered the beautiful blue skies 24/7. The sun shines still, but with no meaning. It looks more tired than happy, probably because the poor thing is trying every day to spread happiness, but nothing seems to be working. Certain places that we drove through reeked with marijuana and other weird scents. In the suburbs, it would smell like a field of recently bloomed flowers and roses and lavender. There's trash everywhere. This place looked like a whole junkyard. Before we moved, I looked at pictures of the city we were moving into, and it looked beautiful with reflective tall skyscrapers and a crystal blue bay. It had rainbow vibrant colored houses and people who had bright smiles on their faces. This dump looked nothing like the pictures I saw online. Well, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Maybe the people here are wonderful and nice as my old friends, and the neighbors are as welcoming as the others were. We're here, I heard Papa say as we pulled over. I opened the door and got down from the car excitedly. It's the one with la puerta verde, he says. A green door? I looked at the other houses and the other doors were a dirty white and gray bricks were uniformed in the pattern. Then at the very end of the corner of the block, I saw an emerald green door with a dark blue outline. Well, I guess we're gonna stand out again. The moving truck came right behind us, and the driver parked the vehicle outside our new house. I guess this is our new home. Dad, out of all the houses you could have bought, you got this green doored house in the middle of a dangerous city, Liliana said. She looked more annoyed than usual. Hija, come on, give this place a chance. It's beautiful. Trust me. Also, we got the best house in the block. Oh, and by the way, I'm Papa, not Dad. Liliana just rolled her eyes and said, fine. Liliana did have a bit of a point. Why did Mama and Papa decide to move, and why here of all places? Mama gets out of the car with Joaquin and Mateo. Joaquin has an emotionally serious face as always, and Joaquin is not even paying attention. He's got his big nose in his phone again. Mijito, guarda tu teléfono por unos minutos, please, Mama said, her arms crossed, giving him that look that all sons, daughters, and husbands fear. Fine, Mama, doing the same thing that Liliana did. Papa got the new keys out of his pockets and unlocked the green door. It felt like one of those slow motion scenes in a horror movie when they open a creepy door that the character thought they heard a sound from. Why am I scared? I shouldn't be scared. I should be excited and happy that I'm in a new environment with so many options and new things to try. The green door finally opens. Thank you.
Good job. That was great. You took me on a ride. So Mars definitely stands out as a strong writer, and so does our next writer, Dion. If you can please join me on the stage.
Yes. So I got my inspiration after watching the film by Beyonce, Black is King. So I got really inspired. My poem is called The Skin. Here I am again, in this dark place I call my room, looking at this dark thing I call my skin. My father tells me there is nothing wrong with the dark color of my skin. But yet again, a man or woman who looks like me is killed again. Their lives taken by senseless violence or police brutality. I am afraid, yet I say again, I am afraid. Afraid that the next time I leave my house could be the last. The last time I say I love you, the last time I sleep, and the last time I eat. I am afraid that the dark color of my skin could determine whether or not I'll live or die. But
Dion, are you still with us? You kind of cut out for a second.
yes, I am here.
Would you mind starting over?
In this dark I call my room, looking at this dark thing I call my skin. My father tells me there is nothing wrong with the dark color of my skin. Again, a man or woman who looks like me is killed again. Their lives taken by senseless violence of police brutality. I am afraid, yet I am afraid. Afraid that the next time I leave my house could be the last. The last time I say I love you, the last time I sleep, and the last time I eat. I am afraid that the dark color of my skin could or would determine whether I live or die. But yet, I do it every day that we should be afraid. But yet, I sit here on this floor and say, I am afraid. Fear is what keeps me alive to tell the story of those who have silence, alive to one to tell my future grandchildren. So I sit here and really say, I am afraid.
Thank you, Dion. That was such a strong poem. It was so relatable. And our next writer is Jaylen Jones. So if everyone can help me, welcome Jaylen.
Okay, I'm gonna read a part of my short story. It didn't fit. No matter how hard I tried, all the supplies I attempted to pack refused to stay in the leather knapsack. Even though I saw that I wasn't making progress, I had to keep going, just to make sure that she would be ready. I think that should be enough. I turned my head and was surprised to see my mother, standing in the doorway of our small, one-room house. You really are the most stubborn kid I know, Aster. Sorry, I responded. I just can't believe that they're not giving you anything before you leave. She stepped away from the doorway, closing the door behind her, and got closer to me, crouching down by the bag. I know it may seem unfair, honey, but I volunteered for this, she explained. I'm honestly surprised they're letting us go to the third layer. Stuff has been getting pretty out of hand up there. As she spoke, I picked up various frozen foods, batteries, and clothes that spilled out of her bag. After hearing that, it reassured me even more that I was doing the right thing. I couldn't let her leave unprepared. That's exactly why we need to pack all this stuff, I responded. Isaac told me that the other layers have a lot more monsters than we do. I couldn't find much to help you, so I'll look around with him tomorrow. Don't worry, they wouldn't send us completely defenseless, she said, looking at me with a grin. They're sending some guards with us, so it won't just be Mr. Troy and the others. And even if it was just us, we would find a way to get through it. We'll be fine. Okay? Her grin changed to a smile as she ruffled my hair. All right, I chuckled. Plus, I don't know what frozen chicken is going to do against one of them. She picked up her bag, taking it from the middle of the floor over to the wall. Come on, help me pick this stuff up. At first, I was a bit hesitant, but I swallowed my pride and helped her start putting stuff back one by one. We decided to take everything out of the bag at first, and then figure out what we should do from there. Seconds turned to minutes, minutes into what felt like hours, or an hour, as we got everything together for her. As we finished, we could feel the entire house beginning to shake. The ceiling lamp that illuminated the single-room home began to swing violently until until it all suddenly stopped. Goodness, those things never learn to quit, do they? Mom said. I looked at her, surprised at how calm she was. Was that a monster? I asked. Unfortunately, she responded, but we won't have to worry about those kinds until we get to the very top of the atlas. They must be big if they can tunnel through solid rock like this. Shaken by the whole thing, I sank to the floor, leaning my back against the wall, terrified that something that big could be living in the atlas with us, that something that big could find Mom. Do you really have to go? I plead. I promise that I promise that I can find more work to do. That way you don't have to leave the city so often. She lets out a sigh and looks me in the eye. I know it's scary, honey, but we need the money, she responded. Her gaze was stone cold and serious. I knew I couldn't talk her out of it. Whatever we find up there is going to get us so much more than a job investigating sectors we've already cleared out dozens of times. Those people below us will buy any relic as long as we say it came from the surface. All we have to do is to get a bit more and we'll be able to live comfortably for a long time. We can live comfortably, Aster. She pulled me tight to her side and started motioning with her hands. Imagine living in a house with more than one room, more than one floor, like Rebecca's house. You like her house, right? I regretfully nod, knowing that I'm fueling her motivation. I know you do, baby. I would do anything for you, no matter what. So promise me that you won't worry. As she finished her last thought, she turned to me. She turned me back towards her, her eyes tearing up, and held me tight. Please, Aster, promise me. Yes, ma'am. I promise. She let me go and stepped back, wiping the forming tears from her eyes. Good, she replied. Thanks for helping me. I know it's late, but I'm going to start dinner. I saw Isaac on his way back. He might still be outside. Go out and play. It'll be a while. Yes, ma'am, I said. I put my shoes and my hat on, stepping towards the door. As I turned one last time towards my mom, I saw her shaking, tears falling from her face. Not because she was angry, but because she was scared. I step out of the house. And that's it.
Character development. Character development. Next, we have the lovely Dahlia coming to the stage.
Okay, I'm going to be reading two stories, but except I took like two paragraphs. So first one, seven images of myself trapped in a box. My mom named me Mallory for a reason, not because the name sounds angelic. She named me Mallory because it means unlucky and unfortunate, like she's been calling me for 19 years of my life. I was born in March, Friday the 13th. Once in a days I would be born the day before a movie, and of course it would be thunderstorming. My mom told me I was small and fragile. I was very skinny and pale, ghost, covered in blood. She said I was kind of scary to look at, and she wouldn't hold me or smile until they wiped my bloodstained body. My rib cage was visible, and if you look close to the chest, you could even see my heart beating. I didn't cry once, even when they weighed me by placing me on the ice-cold scale, probably as cold as a refrigerator. I was 1 pound and 2 ounces, which was very low, lower than the usual weight of a baby, 5 pounds and 8 ounces. The doctor said I had a low possibility of living too, but by God's miracle I did. Ever since my mom told me about what happened, I ordered a silver cross necklace from Amazon. My mom was wondering why I ordered a cross necklace. Because we never went to church, we weren't religious, nor did we have any religious beliefs. I told her that if it weren't for God, I might not be alive today, which I'm sure she could care less about. We should thank him for every day that he's blessed us with. She rolled her eyes and sighed. Okay, Mallory. Sometimes when I was praying, whether it be before I go to bed or before I ate dinner, I would ask God why my mother had named me Mallory and why she saw me as an unlucky disappointment. I mean, sure, sometimes things happen coincidentally, but that can't explain everything. And the second story, it's actually short. My dad is Mr. D. Losing is a prize in itself. It just shows how persistent you are at achieving goals. Rand Amelia Christine, 4'11", weight 90.5 pounds. Parents, Sherry Pamela Christine, father, unknown. Ever since I was a little girl, I loved to run, even when I was being born. Sherry had told me as I was being delivered, my legs and my arms were moving as if I were running. That's all I could ever think about, was to run. Beads of sweat running down the sides of my face, my muscle-toned legs carrying me across the field, like how most birds have wings. They carry them so far up, in a way. Losing is a prize in itself. It just shows how persistent you are at achieving goals, Fran. Those were the exact words my father whispered in the tape recorder. They felt calm and soothing, like walking on a beach. Ghosts walking, flying above the peach-colored sky, tide flowing onto the beach and flowing out. I've never met, let alone knew I had a father until I listened to his deep, gentle voice, the kind of voice you hear on National Geographic or animal documentaries. Sometimes I would play the tape recorder endlessly for hours, the same quote being repeated. I listened to his voice so much I'd cry, or dream, use every 11, 12, 12, or birthday wish I had, but I should have known.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Dahlia. Our next writer is Dashira. So if you can please join me on the stage. Dashira?
Oh, hello. Um, my story is called Lifetime of a Blessing. It's kind of short. Okay. Once in a lifetime, you have to be sure about what you want in life because the weight is going to be dead on your shoulder. And you may have to balance yourself. However, I'm okay because opportunities are coming in. And when they're here, I will sense the right decision and it's going to be a blessing to life. To live my life in the present, I will breathe in the air to feel the greatness. But most of all, I'll enjoy being able to be a part of something where I can do what I love to do. I'll always know it's a lifetime blessing as a wake-up call to be.
This just raised my vibes all the way up. Feel so positive now. Welcoming in the lovely Kayla to the stage.
Okay. This is called The Industry Through Our Eyes. Okay. We struggle with our body image. While some call us fat, others call us too skinny. When we get on stage, we are watched by millions of eyes, watching our every move. We freeze and isolate ourselves because we know if we make one mistake, it could ruin our lives forever. The hate can get so intense that we end up killing ourselves to get rid of the pain we experienced. We struggle with our mental health. The nation that we live in states that mental health is unreal, but everyone in this industry knows that that statement is far from the truth. Many of us have died due to the public's nasty comments and hateful actions, yet nobody has done anything to get those out of this torment. This needs to be taken seriously because there are people that end their lives due to this issue. This is the industry through our eyes. I'm done. This poem was about like how K-pop idols or like people in Korea struggle with mental health, and it's not talked about as much. So I made a poem about it.
Thank you for sharing. And our next writer is Kyra. Please join me in welcoming Kyra.
Hi. I'm also a short story, so thank you for being patient. Dima, the kids, are they okay? He looked around frantically, trying to find his curly blonde wife and the two boys. They were his life. If he lost them, he didn't know what he would do with himself. They should be, he'd stated before Agul could stand. Jewel grabbed the blind man by the shoulders, holding him while growling in annoyance. Sit down, you fool. Now is not the time for your dramatic heroics. Agul flinched back as he grabbed his head, as if he needed a reminder on his head injury. Joel left the two males to talk as he made his way up the stairs. Don't worry, my friend. Joel is going upstairs to check up on them. Let's get you on the couch to rest up for a bit. Joel overheard Hadid as he made his way to the second floor. Joel looked around the empty hallway and his eyes landed on the one door cracked open. Walking inside with his sword drawn, he immediately let go of his defensive stance as he rushed over to Dima. She was groaning in pain from what appeared to be a head wound. Joel looked her over and realized it was the only injury, not as bad as Agul. He made quick work of patching her up before taking a step back and starting to speak to her. Dima, can you hear me? His voice was softer than what most thought possible for the old retired duelist. Dima blinked a couple of times as she finally looked up to see who was speaking to her. Jew, she whispered, and he held back a sob. Yes, I'm here, Dee. With his hands up to show that he meant no harm, he couldn't help but look into those vibrant blue eyes. He could see how dull they seemed now, like she aged a couple of years since the last time he saw her. Her blonde hair was matted with dry blood as she looked pale. Sorrel and Newell came upstairs to see the two of them on the floor. Sorrel looked over to the crib to see Ace France. It seemed like the youngest runt was missing. Watching Sorrel's movements, Dima turned to the crib as well, and her breath hitched. It felt like the world was coming down, crashing onto her shoulders as she let out a broken sob. Her heart felt heavy as she stumbled to get up, swatting away Joel's arms as he tried to help. Ace was looking around to see these adults. His throat hurt to let out a cry, but he could only manage a whimper of fear. His brother was gone. A weird-looking animal with floppy ears took his brother while he was asleep. The weird animal thing had left Ace to sit and whimper out into the room in hopes of someone hearing him. He felt so scared and alone. He just wanted to be held. Axis, Dima's voice rang out in the nursery. Where Axis normally slept was now empty. His favorite stuffed panther, named Yali, was missing. A leg of his was missing a leg, and his favorite blanket was gone. Dima backed away from the crib while clutching her head. The three men could only watch as she broke down. It broke Drool to see the woman he cared for so deeply broke down in front of him. Tears streamed down Dima's face as she constantly whimpered, "No, no, no, no." The mutters eventually rose until, my bad. The mutters eventually rose in volume until she screamed in anguish. Nao took a step towards her. Her voice was raised. Her blood was rising significantly as her emotions took over her judgment. Skin turning red with hot anger and fear, her hair started to rise as her teeth along with her nails began to sharpen as her creature's side started to show. Dima. She ran past him and into the hall, stumbling a bit as she clutched to the wall. She made her way downstairs. "Axis!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. Downstairs, Heed and Agul looked over to see Dima frantically running around. "D," Agul asked softly. Dima turned her head. "He's gone, Agul, he's gone!" A broken sound came from her mouth as she clutched the panther to her chest. She scooped up the small stuffed animal out of the crib without even realizing it. Heed couldn't help but ask, "Who's gone, Dima?" Dima's head spun towards Heed so fast he thought she might have had whiplash. Axis is gone." At that, Agul jumped from his seat screaming, "What?" Before anyone could say anything, Dima ran out of the house as she started calling for her green-eyed child. In her blind panic, she hoped if he could hear her voice and he would call back out to her like he always did, just like when they were playing together in the backyard. But deep down, she knew that wasn't going to happen. Drool and Agul ran over to the weeping woman to catch her as she fell to the ground. She was still in her other form, but they didn't care. They might not like each other, but because they both cared for this blonde-haired woman being supported by their arm, because they cared for this blonde-haired woman, they put their differences aside and to support her in their arms alone. She hugged both males close as she let out her wails of English. "Where's my baby, Agul? Where's my baby? My baby, my baby, my baby," she kept saying as both males tried to hold it together for the broken-hearted woman. Agul was silently crying, but didn't make a sound as he tried to be strong for his wife. Drool was at a loss for words seeing his best friend like this. But he could feel her pain. When he first got a picture of Axis, Dima sent him a letter explaining that he was Axis' godfather. He had been over the moon. He might have struggled from distinguishing and outwardly displaying his emotions, but Axis and Dima were the only two that held that place in his heart. A tear eventually managed to roll down his face as he heard those unanswered questions fall from her mouth. Finn.
This was stressful in like the best way possible. So next, I'd like to welcome Jovante to the stage. I know Jovante has something great to share with everyone, so please welcome him.
So this is a poem that I wrote a while ago, but can't speak for some reason. It's my most favorite poem that I've written so far. It's called The Forgotten Land. In the land of distorted fairy tales, a life I will never know, a twisted broken mirror, something without love. In a place of tearful dreams, an endless hellish curse, a fortune teeming with lies, another heart dies. In a world of beautiful memories, where life goes cold, where sadness shall be old, where the dark abyss grows. In this forest of ended stories, and happiness is only a myth. Only cypress shall bloom, angels cease to exist. And this land will fall deeper into sorrow, into despair. And this will never change because no one truly cares.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Vante. That hit me right here. And the next writer that we have is Timothy, who is very talented and is here to share one of his pieces of writing with us.
Okay, so this is a new one that I wrote like a last day thing. Like at like I think it was like after either my first or second class. So I don't remember which one, but I wrote it like the last day, cause like since like I was feeling it. The poem is called Stressed. It's called Stress. So it says, I'm stressed. Stressed about what my second piece will be. Stressed about my first video. Stressed about what my first video will be while watching one of the mistakes other YouTubers make so I can prevent that. Stress is not a good feeling, not good to have, but you're basically born with it. Stress is the main weakness people can have. It's hard to overcome and deal with like Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. Stress is the main reason people don't say things straight out. They think it won't work out, it won't go right, it won't make a difference. But we as people don't know that. Don't think about the downside or it will lead to stress. Stay positive. Positivity Positivity builds up, but stress tears down. Stress is bad, frustrating, confusing, painful, and most of all, a weak spot.
Thank you so much, Timothy. So we have another writer who is feeling a little camera shy, but I know that we all want to hear him read his writing. So Gerard, pretty please, can you share it with us? You don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to.
Come on, Gerard.
You can do it. We want to hear about the monster.
Everyone in the chat start cheering Gerard on.
Do it, but no killing, because Bree is threatening to ban Mafia.
We can't let her ban Mafia.
Gerard,
don't let her ban the
please.
Mafia games.
It was so good. You should read it. It was so good.
I'll give you a cookie. Please go.
Two cookies?
Mafia games.
Hold on.
It was so good.
Hold on one sec, guys. Hold on one second, okay?
Thank you.
So good.
Sure.
I'll give you a cookie.
Yeah, I don't need a cookie. It's fine.
Please
Okay.
go.
So, hello everyone. My name is Gerard Johnson, and I would like to do something a little different today. What I deliver has been influenced in part by Walter Benjamin and his use of quotes and aphorisms. My piece/review will take on this form to make sure we are on the same page. An aphorism is a statement of truth or opinion expressed in a concise and witty manner. The term is often applied to philosophical, moral, and literary principles, and my work is entitled Monster in My Eyes. Okay. So, when I was young, I had learned from Maya Angelou's poetry and Basquiat's images to not let monsters frighten me. Last year, I went to the Monsters and Myths exhibit at the BMA, where the surrealist paintings welcomed my thoughts. Reflecting on the paintings and aestheticization of politics, I realized the intersection between art, fascism, and totalitarian states. The paintings that spoke to me were Picasso's Minotaur in Guernica and Andre Masson's Pasiphae and Taromache. Meaning and semantics. Meaning is what essence becomes when it is divorced from the object of reference and wedded to the word, quine. Let us look at the origin and meaning of the word monster and how it is used in political thought. All of this makes me wonder, how are monsters rooted? Etymology. Monster originated as a word for divine omen or warning. It is from the Old French monstre, from the Latin monstrum, a derivative of the verb monere, to warn. Old English derivatives of monstrum, some of them reflecting a latter sense of monere, to show and form, rather than the original warn, include demonstrate, monstrance, muster, and remonstrate. And from monere itself comes monument. Definition. Monster is a noun. Definition 1. A fabled animal combining features of animal and human form or having the forms of various animals in combination, as a centaur, griffin, or sphinx. Definition 2. Any creature so ugly or monstrous as to frighten people. Definition 4. Anything unnatural or monstrous. And definition 5. An animal or plant of abnormal form or structure, as from marked malformation, the absence of certain parts or organs, etc. Monsters in political thought. According to Thomas Hobbes, the Leviathan represents the sovereign power of the state. The entity or beast is necessary to mitigate the random evil, chaos, and anarchy of the state of nature. The Leviathan also commands subordinates in exchange for protection. For Machiavelli, the prince functioned best when he could channel his inner minotaur. And for Nietzsche, the state is the coldest of all cold monsters, at best managed by blonde beasts. Consequently, our stateside bridgehead to monstrosity, animality, and enslaved beasts is echoed by Thomas Jefferson and other Enlightenment thinkers when we learn West Africans, their frightful color, their low culture, and stunted intellectual development, and shocking lack of modesty by European standards. Their primitivism, their savagery. Was not Africa a dark continent filled with strange monsters and unnatural acts? Rejoinders, historical knowledge, reversals, and affective beats. Fortunately, there are rejoinders that case the working class in the role of the redeemer of future generations, in this way cutting the sinews of its greatest strength. This indoctrination made the working class forget both its hatred and its spirit of sacrifice, for both are nourished by enslaved ancestors rather than the ideal of liberated grandchildren. Walter Benjamin. How animal go no say they done burn me as slave? How animal go no say slave trade done pass? On they one dash us human rights. Animal must talk to human beings. Human rights now my property. They one dash us human rights. This uprising will bring out the beast in us. This uprising will bring out the beast in us. This uprising will bring out the beast in us. KKK, my argument, Fela Kuti. Back to Baltimore's behemoths. The essence has often been pointed out. Its basis is that a relation between people takes on the character of a thing and thus acquires a phantom objectivity, an autonomy that seems so strictly rational and all-embracing as to conceal every trace of its fundamental nature. The relation between people, George Lukács. State sovereignty represents biopower in Baltimore. According to Foucault, sovereignty is inherently racist and depends on biopower that determines who lives and who dies with toxicity and who is made to live and create living matter to build a monster and ultimately to build viruses that cannot be controlled and that are universally destructive. Foucault. Unfortunately, we live through images such as Healthy Holly. Luke Broadwater's reporting on Healthy Holly reminds us of images of creatures we have to endure. Broadwater's political journalism, made with burnt orange and black eagle eyes, comes in like a wrestler. Broadwater saw through the caged Catherine Pugh, even though he resisted the temptation to demonize her, because despite the toxicity of the Healthy Holly scandal, Broadwater could see through the smog and still see her as a citizen in violation of the law. Also, Broadwater's political journalism is in line with Stuart Hall's rejection of moral panics, which demands that we see the ideas and social images of crime, which have thus been embodied in legal and political practices, historically provide the present horizons of thought inside our consciousness. We continue to think in crime, in them. They continue to think crime through us. Again, they continue to think crime through us. For example, in Woods and Soderbergh's I Got a Monster, we see Baltimore's new Leviathan and its complex agents. Soderbergh and Woods' ethnograph multiple monsters and substantiate Walter Benjamin's critique of police violence. Through outstanding reporting, we find out how Baltimore's gun trace task force became the embodiment of Walter Benjamin's observation on the police and law enforcement. The law of police really marks the point at which the state, whether from impotence or because of the imminent connections within any legal system, can no longer guarantee through the legal system the empirical ends that it desires at any price to attain. Therefore, the police intervene for security reasons in countless cases where no clear legal situation exists. Its power is formless, like its nowhere tangible, all-pervasive, ghostly presence in the life of civilized states. In my WBS seminar, when I asked Broadwater about Pew, he stated, "I do not think she is a monster, she is complex." As a follow-up question, I asked him, how would you compare the illegality of the gun trace task force with the Healthy Holly scheme? He said, I would not consider Pew to be a monster, but the men in the gun trace task force are monsters. Then we learned that Jenkins, the head of the gun trace task force himself, becomes a monster. In his hunt for even bigger off-the-book heists, Jenkins had become a monster in a minivan, only to find out later, according to the Rentian Honorable Judge X, who also happens to be a protagonist of I Got a Monster, declares the evidence in front of me is that Mr. Shropshire continued to sell this poison to other people's parents and other people's children, affecting many other lives during the course of his criminal activity. Does that mean he is a monster? Of course not. But it is also inescapable that he again has participated in a very dangerous and destructive activity for many years. In a similar vein, on a much larger and principled scale, Hannah Arendt refused to call Eichmann a monster. And then, ethnographing monsters. Men committed unlawful acts, but they are not monsters. It is dangerous to interpolate men as monsters. Once we do, men become unrecognizable enemies, distorted beyond all recognition, and become foes. Our legal system should not be based on the destruction of enemies or foes. In fact, I believe as Judge X said that Mr. Shropshire was not a monster, and on a larger scale, I am forced to think with and against Hannah Arendt that Adolf Eichmann was not a monster. He was merely a man before the law. Literary devices and the irony of master tropes need to be reckoned with it is ordinary for the culture industry to peddle monsters, myths, khaki cupidity, and stereotypical stupidity. To ensnare dark monsters in zoography is good for the culture industry and business. And then, minding monsters. Monster. It was one of Jenkins' favorite words and a horrific title applied to dealers worth robbing. Jenkins was both a connoisseur of crimes and a practitioner in logging long hours, monitoring the private conversations of monsters. Jenkins had found a monster, Damon Hendrick. He was a baller, according to Jenkins. Jenkins gave the name Ryan the name of a monster. This dude got at least 200 on him. And then, when Jenkins used the word monster, he was talking about scale. A drug dealer was a monster in the same way a truck was a monster, something bigger, better, and extraordinary. In closing, the hunt for monsters, according to Soderbergh and Woods, does not cease with judges and police because they are war machines. We are left to believe that monster spirits like the Antichrist, they mutate and cannot be permanently killed, but only subdued and restrained by a legal catechone and not civil society. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Woo!
Thank you so much for that, Gerard. I don't know how you were like not gonna share that with the rest of the world, because
that's what I said. I said this is why some peer pressure is good. So you just weren't gonna grace us with the textbook mastermind. So you're just not gonna be my professor. So you're just not. Wow. Can you send that to me?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, this needs to be like posted online somewhere tagging Mad Writers Literary Magazine.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, we are going to take a quick intermission as the beautiful, wonderful writer Bree speaks to us more on the topics in Gerard's piece. Bree?
First off, Gerard, Fire Nation. If you're watching and don't know, camp this year was divided up into nations from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Gerard, Mackenzie, and so many other of the lovelies who have read are in my Fire Nation. I am so lucky to be their camp counselor this week. And as you've just heard, Gerard breaks down how beautifully camp not only gives a creative space to write about the monsters that hide in closets and under the bed, but the monsters that live among us every day. And just thinking about how writers in Baltimore schools give such beautiful depth and breadth of sessions, from journalism to sci-fi as protest and all of these things. Thank you, Gerard, for bringing in so much from so many of your sessions this week, as you use symbolism, as you used imagery, as you used conversations with your fellow Fire Nation, and all of Mackenzie and LJ's feedback. You brought in I Got a Monster from one of your journalism workshops, and then you brought in another one as you talked about Broadwater and the Happy Holly scandal. And just thinking about how much that Gerard and every other young writer who has read, from Kaya to Timothy, Dion, Mackenzie, Mandy, your 2 poems, you're all showing us that the kids are all right. And if you're watching from Baltimore and abroad, the kids are all right. The kids are leading revolutions. The kids have the tools. The kids know about mutual aid. The kids know about Arendt, about Du Bois, about Angelou, about Morrison. They know so much. They know so much. And they teach us new things every day. And so when people talk about when young people are and aren't doing, you can't tell me what the kids aren't doing, because I see them do it not only every year, but every day. So I just wanted to come on here and tell the world that the kids are all right, with the help of independent bookstores like Red Emma's, where they can get all these good books about what is going on in their world, with the help of instructors, like some of our instructors who are watching right now, Dr. Campanovo, Kalia Williams, like so many people pour into these children, into these young writers who are changing the world. So the kids are all right. The kids are better than all right. The kids are showing us the way. They are understanding the monsters that hide within fascism. They are understanding that new worlds, world building is incredible. They are imagining, they are loving, they are revolutionizing. And so with that, I think we're about to transition to my fellow counselors. So many of us were also campers. And look at us, we're all right. We're building new worlds. We're helping our lovelies build revolutions. And with that, I pass it right on back to our wonderful MC as we get into the rest of our show.
Thank you, Bree. That was beautiful. Give it up to the kids. Everyone here deserves a round of applause. Next we have the beautiful, wonderful, talented Joy, who will be sharing her writing with us.
Hello. There's some music in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I think it'll only elevate my performance. So in the spirit of revision, I'm going to read a poem that I read earlier this week, but I've revised a bit, So this poem is called Reverie. The salt seasons my mouth, and seaweed peppers the shore, bringing in the distinct smell of the water, earthy and fetid. I am reminded of my presence each time I lick my lips, each time I take a breath. My feet sink into the sand, each toe digging their own pathway to the underground, until my ankles are pale with light brown particles, until my calves root me to the earth. I pause at the shore to witness the mighty battle between the waves as they fight their way to the seaside,
knowing that with each blow comes a soothing crash, and that the victor will meet me at the coast in a celebratory embrace. I unwind in a cool chair, feeling the freedom that comes with open space and racing wind. My skin opens up, relishing in the warmth that the sun brings. This will heal me more than you know. This will heal me more than I know. That's it.
Healing me more than you know, okay? So next we have Regia, who is also just a healing energy to be around. If you haven't been in the presence of Regia, I really feel sorry for you. I actually feel sorry for you. So be in the presence of Regia right now and help me introduce her.
Hi, all of you. I love my kids so much. I love all of you so much. It's just been so inspiring this entire week. And I was taking a break from writing, but y'all really just pulled me back into that world. Like I had a choice, like I could stay away from it. I can't stay away from it because y'all just refuse to let me. So I'm going to read something that I wrote in Kalia's workshop today, which was a food workshop. And so this is a peach. I haven't named it yet, but it's on peaches. One of the first things I learned as a child when I was living with my grandparents were that canned foods are home. You could live off anything contained in metal because, like the cans, we have a hard exterior, but inside we are made up of nutritious ingredients. I can remember being in the kitchen with my grandmother, gathering bowls and spoons, and with my grandfather, opening the Del Monte can of peaches with a silver can opener. I remember thinking to myself, what a neat tool, but kind of ironic, that only other metal could open metal. I think now about how I don't eat peaches. I wasn't even sure of what peach cobbler was until earlier this year. I can't get over the slimy juice feature that coats each slice of peach. It turns my stomach to think of drinking that. I feel this way because my favorite part of fruits are usually the juice. I feel this way about pineapples, about grapes, about apples, and even pomegranates. There are, however, a few exceptions in which biting into a fruit transports me to a land where immigrants are loved and respected in this country. Chowing down in the country at contests of who could devour watermelons the fastest, letting the bursts of juice squirt out wildly as I am chewing up an orange slice, the paradox of both a smooth and hard surface of cantaloupe touching my teeth and tongue and making me feel cold. But with peaches, I do like the feeling of when I'm biting into that soft and wet texture. It reminds me of my sweet grandmother. And even if I never eat peaches again, I will always think that they're sweet and just like her, made up of life's nourishing ingredients, the ones of love and family. That's all I have. That's all I wrote today.
Thank you for such an invigorating poem. Next, we have Cincia writing or sharing her writing with us. So please, everyone, help me welcome her.
Hi, everybody. I'll be reading a poem that I kind of just finished like 5 minutes ago. It's called The Hospital Visits. Okay. Sorry. Trembling fingers, constant movement, the pounding of my heart inside of my chest, feeling as though it's about to jump out. All of the signs of an oncoming anxiety attack, an attack caused by the bulging pain in my stomach. My body aches as I scream out in agony. Hopefully not another night in the hospital. I suffered through pain I suffer through pain every day. Nobody ever knowing what's going on with me. As my body shakes, I sit there trying to convince myself that I'm fine, but the voice in my head is continuing to convince me that my world is crashing down. I never know how to make it stop. I'm scared. I'm all alone. I'm never going to feel better. I'll never be healed. The things that I tell myself in the car on my way to the ER. I repeat to my mom as we pull up. I hate it here. I hate it here. I hate it here. Take me home. Please take me home. It's as if this place is my second home when my chart is 3 pages long. They know me so well, they no longer give me pain meds because nothing works. Another talk about a sharp blade making its way across my body. Another talk about a long recovery. Another talk about how we'll get through this pain. They talk to me as if I'm just going to be ready to always jump on the table. I'm scared. Can't they see that? I ask myself as they talk to me. I feel alone here. This dim lit room with a TV with minimal channels, so no channel surfing for me. Hours of me in the ER go past, and nothing ever comes to a surprise to me. Test after test, waiting for results. You would think that's my biggest fear while I'm there. But it's not because I always know what to expect, same as the last time, times 2. Some growth, some movement, but still they only have one way to solve it. Put me on the table and cut me open. Pull these pieces out like I'm an Operation board game. I'm just ready to go home. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so good. You took me to the hospital. So next, we have the lovely Jamisha. And Jamisha, if Google Me were a person, it would be Jamisha. Jamisha is amazing. So big round of applause for Jamisha.
Don't do that. Don't do me. Okay, so I'm gonna read right at the beginning, and I just want to say that I'm super inspired by a lot of the young authors that are here. Thank you so much for being vulnerable in your work. That is so powerful. Okay. As hip hop fanatics, we will always express when prompted the ways in which hip hop has saved our lives repeatedly and unapologetically. I'm no different. Though I am not a person who can repeat a verse that has touched the pit of my soul in every conversation, I can identify with the sentiment that when I listen to hip hop, there are connections all around me. I can identify with the sentiment that when I listen to hip hop, I find myself entwined in the raw sounds and stories of masters. Masters who have mastered the art of feeding the soul in ways when the boundaries of our parents' subtle anecdotes or the margins of the pool. I can identify with the sentiment that when I listen to hip hop, I find solace in knowing that hip hop will always be the genre where our collective narratives are our own, reflected in the many universes where we as listeners and content creators respectively exist unscathed and fervent. And though these sentiments are derived from a
Jamisha, you
simplicity
are
lies within. Can you hear me?
FBI trying to get you out of here.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Hip hop unintentionally taught a Black girl the art of duplicity. Bad mistake, because with the identification of duplicity, then comes the force of navigation. And with the force of navigation comes infiltration. The duplicity lies within the hands of the hip hop masters, where the entwining sounds and stories of masters are cadences and misogynoir triangulation, where the feeding of the soul had been graffiti-based rhetoric stolen from parents who never recovered from Proverbs 13:24 or the crack era.
Jamisha, you keep going in and out.
Conquesting feminine because we have no value. The point of this all is that once you learn the art of duplicity, especially in hip hop, you will learn how to look to reject its lyrics, and if it doesn't serve you, embrace the artist that it will, and survive in an industry that wants you dead. Oh my God, the FBI is really trying to kill me. I'm sorry.
The FBI can't kill you or hip hop. Thank you, Diva Girl.
Thank you so much, Jamisha, for those powerful words. If you like what you heard, you can find Jamisha and her writing more in Be More Art and online in other places. So lastly, I have a poem that I'd like to share to close us out. Okay, this poem is called Breaking the Stencil. Sometimes I imagined I can shove myself into a stencil for anyone to see me in their version of beauty. I imagined that for them, I would do anything, like stop the music inside me and play it backwards, untangle my hair and unravel my thoughts. I could change the way I speak. I could change the way I act. I could dislocate my body from my soul. Slowly, I could become a new person, worthy enough to love. Perfect and cookie cutter, I can be everything they want. But I found myself breaking out of everything that formed my insecurities. Becoming worthy enough of my own love, I've created safe spaces inside of me for growth. Continuously expanding, there is space for freedom. To put it simply, I am breaking the stencil. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. We had so much fun tonight, sharing our work. If you like what you heard, if you like the energy and the community that we have built, please, please, please follow WBS on social media at Writers in Baltimore Schools, and find us on our website at writersinbaltimoreschools.com, where you can donate and keep this going. If at this time everyone can unmute and we can all clap for each other. Period. Period. That was amazing.
Wonderful.
Good job, everyone. Good job.
I love everyone.
Y'all are the most inspiring people in the world. I swear to God.
Everyone was so great.
Good.
Thank you.
You
This
guys
was
did so good.
And that's on syntax.
Thanks,
And
thanks, Sophia.
On syntax. Everyone.
Yes.
So, thank you everyone for coming out. That's all, folks.
All right, and stream is over. Thanks.